Okay, so I recently did a video about what it was like 20 years ago when I lived in Tempe, Arizona. I filmed myself kind of like walking around this messy apartment. I kept referring to it as an apartment, but it was actually a condo. The reason why that makes a difference is because condos are usually individually owned, and anytime you have an issue, it's not like you can just go to the management office or the apartment office to get something fixed. You have to go through the individual owners. And so I was having a lot of trouble. I lived upstairs, and was a guy who lived downstairs. I say I was having trouble, but really he seemed to have an issue with me living there. Um, he owned his own unit and I was a renter, so I don't know if that's why he had it in for me. He was a young guy, he was good looking, he owned his own condo, he drove a nice car, but for some reason he just really had it in for me and didn't like me, was always making complaints about me, making noise complaints about me, which I don't think I'm a noisy person. I know sometimes, when you have an upstairs neighbor, you can probably hear them like walking around, and maybe they're just walking around and it just sounds like they're stomping around all day. I'm not someone who like plays a lot of music really loud or anything like that, but he definitely had issues with me and kept making complaints about me. So basically it's like you had to go through, I guess, the HOA, and then the HOA sends a notice to whoever owns that unit, and then they get charged a fine, and then the person that I was renting from, basically is going to want to pass that fine on to me. And it's like, hey, I'm not doing anything. One of his complaints was that I would always have people over in my unit when I was not at home. I never had people just in my unit when I was like at work or when I'm not at home. Now, you probably noticed in that video I posted, I did have a cat back then, over 20 years ago. Maybe he was hearing my cat running around the unit, like having the zoomies. I'm not real sure. But he would always complain that I had people in my unit that he could hear. And so I don't know what he was hearing. So a lot of times he would call the police on me for, like I said, noise complaints. Now, there was one time where I had ordered a pizza, and so my unit, so if you're probably familiar, people who have like a door and then they have like a screen door. So I had left my door open, and then I had one of those like metal security screen doors. So that way, yeah, the door was locked and shut, but my door was actually open. Like, I just left it open so I could like, I was expecting a pizza to be delivered and I could just leave it open to listen for the pizza man. He had done a complaint, a noise complaint, saying that I was like having a loud party or blasting lots of music. So police came, and so obviously when police come, my door's wide open. They can listen and hear if there's any loud noise. There was no loud noise, so they come to my door and they say, "Sorry to bother you. We had this noise complaint." And he's like, "But it's obvious that you're not playing any loud music, so we're gonna go talk to the person who called in the complaint." And they're like, "We're really sorry we bothered you." So then I saw that they immediately went right downstairs to the unit right below me and talked to that guy. So I knew it was that guy that was calling in the complaints on me. So I don't know why he disliked me. So then I had my tire slashed while I lived there. I can't say that he's the one who did it, but I don't know who did it. That's probably also when I got in the habit of learning how to change a tire, because I kept having my tires slashed. And then of course there was a time at like 2 in the morning where someone threw a rock through my bedroom window. Which I can show you. I actually have photos from that because I had to show those photos to my landlord to try to get my window replaced. So someone from the outside threw a rock into my unit, shattered the glass, middle of the night, woke me up, obviously scared me. And of course, when you're asleep and a rock comes flying in through your window in the middle of the night, you're kind of like, shocked. You don't know what's going on. So I did get up and go look out the window. But of course, by that time, if someone was down there throwing rocks at my window, they already had time to run away. So I had no way of looking out the window and saying, "Oh, I see the guy who did it." Somebody just threw a rock and then ran away. And I called the police, because obviously I'm going to have to call the police because the window needs to be replaced. And insurance purposes, they probably need a police report. But also, I didn't know who it is that's now like terrorizing me. Like, they're slashing my tires, they're breaking my windows. I mean, if his goal was to get me to move out of the place, don't worry, I moved out. I didn't want to live there anymore. So yeah, I don't know like why that guy just liked me, had it in for me. But that's one of those things, that's how it goes. So when I was looking at that old video from over 20 years ago that I posted recently, I started having memories of what it was like to live there. I actually really liked living there because it was right kind of like in the heart of Tempe, Arizona. Tempe, Arizona is where there's Arizona State University. So there's kind of like this like main street. It's called Mill Avenue. It's like a main street where like everyone goes to like hang out. There's like bars and restaurants, and it's kind of like the hip happening place. So I lived like right there, like kind of like right off Mill Avenue, and so I really liked living there. I liked kind of being in the heart of everything. Nowadays there's a light rail stop there. So, back then, like, things hadn't come along that far, but now it's like a very developed area. So there's like lots of businesses, and it's kind of like I said, the heart of Tempe, Arizona. So it's kind of a bummer that I had to like move out of that place. I mean, I guess I could have kept living there and kept having my windows broken and my tires slashed, but yeah, I moved out of there. And yeah.